Hello, my name is Brad Bonkowski and I'm Supervisor for Ward 2 in Carson City. And this is It's Your City for May 1st, 2014. Our meeting today at the Board of Supervisors was one of the few very short meetings that we've had the pleasure of holding. We were actually out by about 11 o'clock this morning, which was refreshing for us. The reason that we were out early today is because we started the interview process for our new city manager this afternoon. So this afternoon we had private meetings. Each one of the 4 supervisors and the mayor all had private meetings with all 5 candidates that are remaining for the city manager position. And then tomorrow, Friday, we will be having the public interviews down at the community center that will go from 8:30 in the morning till approximately 5 in the evening, at which time we will make our selection for our primary choice for the next city manager, as well as our secondary choice. Once we have determined and voted on who we have as our primary choice, then we will proceed to contract negotiations, and assuming that those are successful, we will bring aboard our primary choice. If we don't come to terms with our primary choice, then we would move to our secondary choice and enter into contract negotiations with our secondary choice. So we should theoretically have a new city manager on board within the next week or two, and I'm looking forward to that. At this morning's meeting, because it was a short meeting, we don't have a whole lot to talk about today since we didn't have a lot of business to take care of. One of the things that we did talk about this morning was for the next primary and general election cycles for registration at the clerk's office. We passed a motion that will allow the clerk's office to close at 6 on the last day, 6 p.m. on the last day of voter registration, the last 2 days of voter registration for the primary election. And then the offices will close at 5 p.m. for the last 2 days of voter registration for the general election. If you by chance went down to the office, the clerk's office, to register and the office was closed either at 6 for the primary or 5 for the general elections, you still have the ability to go online and register up until midnight of the last day of voter registration. So just because the offices close on those 2 particular days for each cycle doesn't mean that you won't be allowed to register. It just means that you will have to do it online. The reason that we are allowing the clerk's office to close at 6 for the primary and 5 for the general is because for the last several election cycles we haven't had anybody come to the offices after those hours, and we are paying employees overtime to staff the office, and then nobody comes by to register. So you still will have the opportunity to register up until midnight. That will not change, but the actual clerk's office will close 6 for the primary election, 5 for the general election for the last 2 days of registration. We also passed on second reading the 1/8 cent sales tax this morning. This is the second time around that we've had to pass the ordinance. The first time there was a noticing error, so we went through the process again to make sure that we did everything correctly and had everything in order. That was passed this morning, so the ordinance will now become law, and we will start collecting the tax. I believe it will be October 1st is when that tax will be in effect, and we will start collecting it. The corridor projects, the recreation facility, the community center, and the animal shelter, all the projects that were included in the plan of expenditure, which can be funded by this tax, still have to go through the design and planning process as any other construction or capital project would need to do. So we are probably several months out from seeing any information come back on any of these projects. So there will be a gap now while projects go into design and go through the vetting process so that we can flesh out all the details of the projects, make sure that they're done right and what the budgets will be for those, the construction budgets, and all the other many details that we need to work out before any of these projects would actually move forward. In the planning department, we approved the CDBG grants for this year, as well as our 5-year plan through HUD for housing. So we do an annual plan every year, and then we also do a 5-year consolidated plan. So we had some discussion on that and approved those plans as well. One of the other items that we addressed this morning, which is interesting, is a law that was passed by the legislature in the last session that has municipalities create a micro redevelopment revolving fund to make loans to small businesses. So all the counties now have to have this fund. However, the legislature did not say that we actually had to, or they didn't say how much we had to fund it with. And for Carson City, we chose to fund it just with $1, mainly due to the estimated administrative cost for instituting a loan program. So we felt that at this time, with the economy where it is at and our redevelopment districts where they're at financially, we didn't feel that it was prudent for us to take on the cost to administrate a loan program for small business at this time. This is something that we could revisit if we chose to going forward, but meanwhile we have complied with the NRS that we create the fund. That, for the most part, were the big ticket items that we addressed today. So have a great evening. Thank you.